most important. How about that? Anyway, you think about it.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivajikacharya Ashtatarashata Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajikacharya Ashtatarashata Srimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gauda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, New Govardhan Dham Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. Shri Guru Shri Guranga. Okay, so Srimad Bhagavatam. 9th Canto, Liberation, Chapter 9, the Dynasty of Shuman. We're on text 32. So we thank Kauta Karnava, or Kautak Karnava Prabhu, Kautak, yeah. And Adinath Krishna Prabhu for visiting us. They'll be leaving after breakfast, right? Thank you, Hare Krishna. They're the great brahmacharis of ISV, and doing very wonderful service up there, distributing so many books. He was telling us some of his stories yesterday. Very humble way of distributing books. So thank you for coming. I also want to thank Evany for making Srila Prabhupada's garland today. Somehow or other, the garland wasn't made on time, so she made it. So this demonstrates the necessity of knowing how to do things. Just imagine if no one in the room knew how to do it, we'd kind of be in trouble. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada said that a devotee should be daksha, which means expert, and that a devotee should know how to give class and receive guests and to offer and to perform deity worship and distribute books and cook and make garlands and clean. There's actually science to cleaning as well. But they should know all of these things because it just may happen that might need to do something in terms of emergency. All right, so today, if you could just repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yadi ayam kriyate bhakshas tarhi mam kada purvataha na jivishye vina yena shanam cha mritakam yata yadya yam kriyate bhakshas tarhi mam kada purvataha na jivishye vinayena chanam cha mritakam yata yadyayam kriyate bhakshas tarhi mam kada purvataha na jivishye vinayena chanam cha mritakam yata yadyayam kriyate bhakshas tarhi mam kada purvataha na jivishye vinayena chanam cha mritakam yata Want to chant Prema? Any online persons like to chant? Okay. Yadi, if ayam, this Brahman, kriyate, is accepted, bhakshaha, as eatable, tarhi, then, mam, meat, kada, eat, purvataha, before that, na, not, jivishe, I shall live, vina, without, yena, whom, my husband, chanamcha, even for a moment, mritakam, a dead body, yata, like. Translation. Without my husband, I cannot live for a moment. Even, if you want to eat my husband, it would be better to eat me first. For without my husband, I am as good as a dead body. Purport. In the Vedic culture, there is a system known as sati or sahamarana, in which a woman dies with her husband. According to this system, if the husband dies, the wife will voluntarily die by falling in the blazing funeral pyre of her husband. Here, in this verse, the feelings inherent in this culture are expressed by the wife of the Brahmin. A woman without a husband is like a dead body. Therefore, according to Vedic culture, a girl must be married. This is the responsibility of her father. A girl may be given in charity, and a husband may have more than one wife, but a girl must be married. This is Vedic culture. A woman is supposed to be always dependent. In her childhood, she is dependent on her father, in youth on her husband, and in old age on her elderly sons. According to Manu Samhita, she is never independent. Independence for a woman means miserable life. In this age, so many girls are unmarried and falsely imagining themselves free, but their life is miserable. Here is an instance in which a woman felt that without her husband, she was nothing but a dead body. Om Gyanativedandasya Gananjana Shlakaya Chakshulanvaditam Mena Tasmai Shri Guruveda Mahamakam Garidivachalam Pangam Langaite Gidem Yakipudamaham Bande Shri Gurundinataranam Vancha Kalvadibishcha Kripasanabheva Chapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namanama Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation, once again. Without my husband, I cannot live for a moment. If you want to eat my husband, it would be better to eat me first. For without my husband, I am good as a dead body. So, there is a context in which this verse is being read here, of course. And the context is that there was one Maharaj, one king. What's his name? Saudasa. Saudasa. Yeah, so Saudasa, he was out in the forest and he killed a rakshasa, or man-eater. That's a rakshasa. But he decided to spare this person's brother. So the brother, wanting revenge, he became, somehow or other, he snuck in. I don't know how. I don't know how he got the job, but he snuck in, and he became a cook at the palace. I mean, it's amazing, right? I mean, Mukunda Charan Prabhu was mentioning this the other day, right? It's very important to screen our cooks. What's their background? What's their consciousness? Right? So he somehow they're snuck in, and he did something just awful. It was disgustingly terrible. And that to try to get revenge, he cooked flesh. And it wasn't just flesh, it wasn't just but it was human flesh he cooked. And the idea was that he was, to get revenge, he was going to have Dasa serve his guru this. Here you go, Guru Dev. Vishishta. And Vishishta, understanding with his mystic power, he didn't taste it. Sometimes people have that experience. Vegetarians, they go to some restaurant or they go here or there and they order something vegetarian. One of the dangers of going to a restaurant, we don't get too much into the dangers of that right now, but and they bite into something and it's not vegetarian. So anyways, so Vishishta, through his mystic power, he didn't have to do that whole process. Or he could understand immediately. This is contaminated food. This is human flesh, and therefore he cursed Dasa, and it was quite an intense curse. Right, for 12 years. Now you will become a Rakshasa. So he was out in the forest, Dasa, now transformed into a Rakshasa, wandering around looking for his breakfast and his lunch, which was humans. So he happens to come across a Brahmin and a Brahmani enjoying, as Srila Prabhupada would say. And at that point, he says, okay, great, here's a Brahmin. And he's about to devour this Brahmin, and the last few verses are explaining or outlining what his wife said. Please don't devour my husband. It's not just kill my husband. Please don't devour my husband. He's a Rakshasa. So she gives so many wonderful arguments in this regard. And this is one of the things she says today, that she says in the conversation. Without my husband, I cannot live for a moment. So she's like this, please, Rakshasa, don't devour my husband. Without my husband, I cannot live for a moment. If you want to eat my husband, she's saying, better to eat me first, just devour me. Of course, the Rakshasa, even the Rakshasas have a little culture. They're not going to do that. But for without my husband, I'm as good as a dead body. So this is what she's saying. Now, tomorrow, we'll see what happens. We'll see if her arguments worked. Of course, those of you who know the story, you know what happened. But so this particular verse, for without my husband, I am as good as a dead body. We could see that in very materialistic cultures, or in very gross cases, like extreme cases, this is exactly the opposite. Sometimes people want their husband to die. I remember one devotee told me something in this regard. He said that, he was saying it in a bit of a humorous way, but he said that there was a case of, and of course this is a very gross example, and it's to like the extreme degree, but he was saying that there's this woman, and she was young, and she married a quite old man who happened to have a lot of money. And then the reporter was asking her, so, like, how does it feel? And he was saying, the reporter was asking her, how does it feel now that you're married to an 80-year-old man? And does everyone know what she said? Does everyone remember? Does anyone remember? Mukunda try to remember? So she said, 80? I thought he was 90. Understand?
Like she was upset. She's like, I think the way it was like 86. I thought it was 96.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, she got cheated. In other words, she was hoping she thought the guy was older. And she was hoping the guy was going to die soon. That's the idea. So we see that real culture is exactly the opposite. That culture for all members of society actually means commitment. So for women, it means commitment. For men, it means commitment. There's a commitment that the husband has for his wife. There's a commitment that the wife has for the husband. There's a commitment that the brahmachari has towards their spiritual master. There's a commitment that the spiritual master has towards their disciples. It's all about commitment. So, and a life without commitment is considered a miserable life. So, therefore, Srila Prabhupada, he, throughout his books, would encourage us and people in general to be committed, to be a committed husband in Krishna consciousness, to be a committed wife in Krishna consciousness, to be a committed brahmachari, to be a committed spiritual master, all of this in Krishna consciousness. To be committed to a community. Sometimes people wonder why they're not happy. A lot of the times it's due to lack of commitment, lack of responsibility that somebody takes. But in terms of being committed to a community, how else will the community be successful unless there's committed members? Just like we have our ISV community up there, we have devotees from there, and the success of the project is due to Vaisheshika Prabhu and the team he's created being committed. If there was no commitment, there's no success. So sometimes people, they may think that, all right, you Hare Krishna people, you're just going around and telling everybody how to live, right? You go out on book distribution. Here, please take a book. In essence, you're nicely, humbly telling them through the book how to live. Giving so many classes, right? Speaking with people. In essence, telling people how to live. So sometimes people may ask the question, you guys are telling us how to live, but we could tell you how to live. Like Deva Amrita Swami. He said he was watching TV, back in the 70s, and he saw the Hare Krishnas get on the show, right? They're on the show. And Deva Amrita Swami said him and his intellectual buddies in New York, what they used to do for fun, I don't know why, but they used to watch TV and with the volume down and just kind of guess what people are talking about, or I don't know why they would do that, but has anyone ever did that before? I don't know. Anyways, I can't understand. Oh, yeah? Okay. So, but then they saw the Hare Krishna people. He saw the Hare Krishna people get on the television. He said, "What are these people talking about?" And then he turned it up, and the devotees were saying the general things devotees say, that, of course, we're not the body and we're the soul, and the real happiness is with the Supreme Soul. We have like spiritual happiness, unending spiritual happiness. And Devamrita Swami, he was rolling his eyes. He was thinking, "Yeah, sure, spiritual happiness." And he was saying that they haven't been to one of our parties. You know, we could show them what real happiness is. One of our New York parties. So people may think that you people are just telling everybody what to do, but we could tell you what to do. We could tell you how to live. Now, the reason, just like we had one brahmachari, I mentioned this before some time ago, we had some brahmachari, and his brother came, and he was attending Mangalarti, he was chanting Hare Krishna, he was doing everything. And then when this brahmachari went home to visit him, his brother said, "Hey, I did everything you were doing at the temple, so now you could do everything I'm doing at home." Means staying up till 4 o'clock in the morning and playing whatever, 6 hours of video games and whatever else he was doing. Eating probably a bunch of junk food. And the devotee did it. Just joking. And the devotee just said, "Well, it doesn't really work. I'm not going to do that. It's against my principle." So when somebody says that to us, we don't have such faith. We don't accept those people as our authority, the materialistic philosophers or scientists or religionists or politicians. We don't accept any of those people as our authority. Srila Prabhupada one time said in India, he was with one devotee, and he said, "Actually, I am the only person who knows what they're talking about." He said, "All of these leaders, they're completely bewildered." And then he mentioned some disaster that was happening. And he said, just like this disaster, they have no idea how to solve it. Of course, Srila Prabhupada generally wouldn't speak like this about himself, but he did in this case. So yes, we don't accept any of these personalities as authorities, and therefore we don't accept their recipe for happiness, their formula for happiness. We just don't accept it. And unfortunately, people may know that these so-called authorities' recipe for happiness does not work. People may know that very well. But there is a principle that Prahlad Maharaj brings out in his wonderful teachings that Prabhupada would quote all the time, Punascharvitacharvananam, that just chewing the chewed means this tendency to always revert to one's old materialistic ways, even though it really doesn't bring one happiness. Or as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur one time mentioned, he said, there's a causeless unwillingness to surrender to Krishna. In other words, there's no good reason not to surrender to Krishna. There's so many wonderful reasons to surrender to Krishna, but there's this causeless unwillingness to surrender to Krishna, very unintelligent reasoning. Why not to surrender to Krishna? So that may be something that we may be free of to different degrees. But the idea is to become completely free from that. No resistance. It means we have no resistance to Krishna's instructions. Whatever he says, sounds good, and aside from sounds good, we do it. And that is the real formula for happiness. That's the real formula for success, for perfection. Now, when we read such statements like this purport is packed like one statement after another of things that a lot of people would not like, and that a lot of people would like. But it is like one after another. It's like, boo, boo, you know. And when people read such statements that are completely opposed to the, you could say, modern, or if you want to say popular or modern, general popular modern trend, or the way that they're brainwashed as children, because it is a brainwashing system. I mean, we have to face the facts. What is education in the modern world? What is... There's a particular thing they're trying to push. Agenda. So when they read such statements and they filter it through their conditioning, they've been brainwashed growing up, or you could say without an open mind, then they just hogwash, slam the book closed. They're just really disgusted by it. Now, I know some devotees who have had that experience. Like, a number of them have had that experience. Men, women, they've had that experience. They open, they read, and they just, oh, this is too much. And they just close it. They're like mad at Srila Prabhupada. Can't believe he said that. Not only did he say one thing, but he said like 5 things all in a row. It's kind of like in a boxing match or something. You know, someone might pull out a good punch, but if it's like 5 in a row, you know, just like might. So this purport, you know, analyzing these statements, it's like 5 in a row actually, from what people may be uncomfortable with. So this devotee that had this, he said he would open, he would get mad, he'd close the book, but then he kept on opening the book, and he started to chant, and he started to try to understand, which is really an important part of it. That, okay, it's understood we may not understand or accept immediately, but we should try to understand and not be dogmatic in our rejection of it, of our absolute rejection of it, without giving it a chance. As if the modern world and all of their formulas for happiness are working. They're not. So yes, one of the things that Srila Prabhupada mentions is that independence for a woman means miserable life. That's a good line, right? I mean, this is like number 6 in the list of things he said in the purport, and you know, we can't get into everything because, I mean, people give seminars on every little point in this purport, but... And then he says, in this age, so many girls are unmarried and falsely imagine themselves free, but their life is miserable. So yeah, this is a statement that Srila Prabhupada says here. In other words, people, although externally they might be looking very nice, they're actually dying inside. There's like absolute turbulence and misery due to them not being properly situated in their life. And the Srimad Bhagavatam explains that the proper situation is that a woman is most happy properly married with children and with financial stability, and a good social system, a good healthy social system. Lots of friends and family, and I mean, sounds good, right? Maybe not for people. But and the idea is that why are they considered miserable without being independent? Why are they miserable? Why is that? Because the idea is that just as so many other classes of individuals require a certain type of protection, the idea is that's the idea with women as well. Brahmins require protection. What is that protection? They're not warriors. They don't have their swords, and they're Brahmins. They could pick up incense and a bell, but they could pick up a book, but they can't pick up a sword. I mean, you hear about these Kshatriyas in India. I mean, it's quite impressive. Just looking at the sword, you're like, my God. So they need protection. Cows, as we were discussing the last few days, they need protection. We could try to protect more cows here in San Diego. One devotee in ISV, he has like 10 cows, his own project. But another devotee just met a family. They bought 4 acres of land, and they have 1 cow on there, which is, it's a step in the right direction. Imagine you have 20 families, 20 cows, 40 families, 40 cows. Anyways. But, so cows, Brahmins, children, obviously they need protection. Obvious reasons. And women also are part of those classes that need protection. Why? Because without that protection, Srila Prabhupada explains that there's a tendency for them to be exploited by irresponsible men. And therefore so many social ills. So yes, when we hear such things, we shouldn't, if we accept them, okay, we accept them, simple. But if we're having a hard time accepting, we should try to understand why Srila Prabhupada is saying them, how it makes sense, discuss, think about it, pray about it, chant Hare Krishna, and try to understand why he's saying these different things. So yes, real culture means commitment, and we don't accept materialistic philosophers or scientists or politicians or materialistic religionists as our authorities in relation to formulas for happiness or success or perfection. And when we come across such seemingly radical statements, we should seriously consider it, not just throw it out, but seriously consider it. And part of considering it is to try it. So, okay. Does anybody have any question or comment? Our causeless unwillingness, we should not be so stubbornly addicted to not serving Krishna.
I have a question.
Yes.
I chanted Hare Krishna. I tried it. Nothing happened to me. I chanted the whole Hare Krishna. I chanted the whole Hare Krishna 3 times. I didn't feel any.
You sound like Javita Prabhu's brother, because Javita Prabhu's brother said that. He was at a Krishna's party or something, and he said he chanted, I think 1 time or twice or something. He said, didn't work for me. That's it, giving it up. Tamal Krishna Goswami, he told Nityananda, his later disciple, because I believe they're in Fiji, but Nityananda was a big lawyer and wasn't a devotee, I believe, but although I think he was a devotee of Shiva. But he was really annoyed, actually, by the Hare Krishnas making so much noise. It's actually amazing. Our neighbors here, very tolerant, right here. Of course, we're in Pacific Beach. That's the wonderful thing about being Pacific Beach. It's a party town, so you can make a lot of noise. But devotees in Fiji were making a lot of noise. And this lawyer came over, and he said that this is unacceptable, and I'm going to sue you, take you to court, this and that. And Tamal Krishna Goswami happened to be visiting, and he said, okay, fine. He said, we'll make a deal here. You chant Hare Krishna 16 rounds, seriously, every day for 30 days. And if you don't feel any positive difference, impact in your life, if your mind doesn't change, that we will close the temple and we'll pack up our things, close the temple, and leave. And, Tamal Krishna Goswami, he's quite, what would you say? Convincing, yes. He's a very convincing person. Probably like maybe half of the Radha Damodar, maybe 80% of those men who joined the bus party, probably from him. But there's like 100 devotees on there. But anyways, so Nityananda said, okay, fine. So he did that, and then Tamal Krishna Swami came back 30 days, and he said, so what is your verdict? And the lawyer said, you could stay. And he later on became his disciple, and he became the temple president of Dallas for like 30 years or something, maybe longer, 40 years. He retired recently, but he's a fun devotee. Anyways, so yeah, it requires one to sincerely, seriously try for some time. And we do hear about the benefits of chanting the holy names, and we shouldn't consider those an exaggeration, as in the 10 offenses of the holy name, to consider the glories of the holy name of the Lord as to be an exaggeration is an offense. But sometimes, if somebody doesn't apply themselves properly, it may seem to be imagination, because they don't get the proper results. Just like if you bake cupcakes and instead of adding baking soda, you put salt or something or whatever. You're not going to get the proper result, but if you do everything properly, you'll have your wonderful sweets offered to Krishna, serve them to the devotees. So if we do things properly, we will get the result, and we won't see it as an imagination. So, anyways. Yes, Vamsi.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for coming. Nice to see you.
Good to be here.
Vamsi will be initiated soon.
Yes, thank you.
Happy day.
So you said we don't take the authority of the materialists. I think we do, maybe not in the spiritual matters, but we have to obey the laws of the state.
Sometimes. I'm just joking.
All the time.
I'm just joking.
All the time. I think, so as Prabhupada says, we just have to take best of the bad bargain, right? So we have to follow, but we don't take their authority in the spiritual matters.
Yeah, of course, just like I was going to bring that up, that doesn't mean that we don't accept any of them as authority. It's like, all right, who wants to perform the acupuncture for Uli? Pull out the needles, right? There's certain things that they may know, like acupuncture or some Western medicine or this or that or whatever. There's certain things that they know. But yeah, in terms of them giving us a recipe for happiness or a formula for perfection or anything like that, then we don't accept that. So, yeah, but thank you for your comment. Any other question? Okay, Naveen.
I had a question about kind of what you're talking about with non-devotees, materialists being brainwashed.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I was wondering, like, how would you...
If somebody said we were brainwashed?
Yeah, I guess like most people would probably say, like, especially devotees, they follow the same leader, they like all read the same things, they think the same things. So
I don't know.
I don't know. I guess how would you respond to that?
Managing in ISKCON, see if they all think the same thing and follow a leader. But go ahead.
Yeah. Anyways, you're done? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, someone may say that. So, I mean, I'm thinking of this statement Srila Prabhupada said in New York in the early days. And Prabhupada would say statements that were bold and challenging, and some people are like maybe shocking to people. I mean, some people might take offense to it, for example. Before I get to the New York, one time one person questioned Srila Prabhupada about some amazing statements in Scripture. And then Prabhupada, it seemed like he was doing it on purpose. He was bringing out these things. And then Prabhupada said, "Oh, is there any questions?" And the person said, "Oh, what about this? And what about that? And how is it that..." And then Srila Prabhupada said, "What do you know?" He said, you've just taken birth from your mother's womb." That's pretty, in other words, you're like an absolute baby. Like, what do you, like... Now, of course, people would hear them. It's like, oh, it's kind of... But it is something to consider. It's like, yeah, what do we know? I mean... But anyways, going to New York, when Srila Prabhupada was giving a talk, he was saying, happiness? He said, you don't know what happiness is. Now, again, someone may take that as like kind of too strong or this and that, but the beauty of Srila Prabhupada saying that, one of the beauties of Srila Prabhupada saying that, is that he was giving them the formula for happiness. So, if someone wants to say, okay, you're brainwashed, no, you're brainwashed, okay, one consideration is, well, let's see the result. What is the result of your brainwashing, or what is the result of your education? So Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, Susukam Kartamaviyam, that the process of bhakti, or Krishna consciousness, is joyful. If you're experiencing freedom from misery, if you're experiencing happiness, if you're experiencing peace, and aside from that, if things are logical, comprehensive, then these are signs that it's a good brainwashing method. But if by your brainwashing method you're becoming mentally disturbed and distorted and unhappy and so many things like that, then what does that say about the educational system? And there's so many social ills disturbing people these days. And we would say because it's this materialistic philosophy that they're following in different shades and different forms. So, yeah, that's something. Yes?
I just happened to be listening to a class the other day, and Prabhupada was asked this question. Sometimes he answered just like you. Your answer is very good. This is not counter, it's in addition to. Baked into your question is a false assumption. Well, you, Hare Krishnas, are all following a leader. The assumption is, well, I'm not following a leader. I'm an independent thinker. But the fact of the matter is, Everybody's following somebody. They're following Trump. They're following, if they're a communist, they're following Marx. I mean, everybody's following. There's people send me things, and I'm grateful to you. The influence, there's social media influencers. Oh, I bought this, I shop here, and they've had profound effects, believe it or not, on the Christmas season shopping, what people bought. They said it's a new factor that we've got to, in doing surveys and measurements, we've got to now factor in the out of left field influencers. So people are following so many. They're following their mother. Everybody's following someone. It's a question of who you're following. It's not a question of whether you're following the leader. And as Balaram was saying, it's a question of who you're following and what the result is.
Yeah, thank you. All right, great. So on that happy note, I hope everybody's having a wonderful New Year, and
Looks a lot like last year.
and we can take all the opportunities for serving Krishna. Okay, thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.